Good morning. I'm going live on Facebook as well. Just want to let everybody know. Good morning, KT. Good to see you here. Good morning, sis. I'm going to go ahead and start live on Facebook so they can know what's going on too. So here we go. See if I can do both. Well, good morning. It is Saturday. And it is a AA day. I'm glad to be able to do these meetings for people. And it's for anyone. It doesn't matter if you are the recovering alcoholic or the alcoholic or just here to support my channel. If you're not on the YouTube side, I do have a YouTube channel as well. So I do live videos there on Wednesdays as well. That is just a regular live stream on Wednesdays. It's not AA or anything. So I do 2 AA meetings a week, and it is Tuesday and Saturdays at 11 a.m. Pacific Standard Time. Just so you know, and I put in the description on YouTube the page, the story, and all of that stuff as well. So there are some rules. Please don't harass people that come into the chats. Please be kind to each other. Do not do judgment. AA is a no judgment zone. So we all have the same issues, and just trying to make it easier for each other to go sober and stay sober. So that is my biggest passion for me on a daily. So okay, that thing went out anyway. So I was quitting smoking, and unfortunately I didn't have enough time on the meds for it to take full effect. So I will be doing that again really soon. Waiting for a refill on my prescription. So yeah, quitting smoking is harder than quitting alcohol for some strange reason. But anyway, nevertheless, you got to figure out how to quit those bad habits. So, but I'm going to say the Serenity Prayer and get into the steps and read some of today's story and tell of how it helps me or what ways it's touched my life in general. So if you're new here, welcome. If you're an old timer, welcome. You all are welcome, no matter the race, the sexual orientation. Everybody is welcome, no matter what. So yeah. All right. God, grant me the serenity to accept the things I cannot change, the courage to change the things I can, and the wisdom to know the difference. The 12th step. 1. We admitted we were powerless over alcohol, that our lives had become unmanageable. 2. Came to believe that a power greater than ourselves could restore us to sanity. 3. Made a decision to turn our will and our lives over to the care of God as we understood Him. 4. Made a searching and fearless moral inventory of ourselves. 5. Admitted to God, to ourselves, and to another human being the exact nature of our wrongs. 6. We're entirely ready to have God remove all these defective characters. 7. Humbly asked Him to remove our shortcomings. 8. Made a list of all persons we had harmed and become willing to make amends to them all. 9. Made direct amends wherever possible, except when to do so would injure them or others. 10. Continue to take personal inventory and when wrong, promptly admit it. 11. Sought through prayer and meditation to improve our conscious contact with God as we understood Him, praying only for His will for us and the power to carry that out. 12. Having had a spiritual awakening as a result of these steps, we try to carry this message to alcoholics and to practice these principles in all our affairs. So if you're wondering where you can find the book we're reading and what page, go down. If you're watching the rerun, go down to where it says more right under the video. It has the description, and if it's not the full description, hit the more and it will show you what page and story. And today we are on story 9, and it's the keys to the kingdom on page 268. This worldly lady helped to develop AA in Chicago and thus passed her keys to many. A little more than 15 years ago, through a long and comatose series of shattering experiences, I found myself being helpless, propelled toward total destruction. I was without power to change the course of my life had taken. The course my life had taken. How I had arrived at this tragic impasse, I could not have explained to anyone. I was 30 years old and my life was spent. I was caught in a cycle of alcohol and sedation that was proving inescapable, and consciousness had become intolerable. I was a product of the post-war prohibition era of the Roaring Twenties, that age of the flapper and the it girl speakeries and the hip flask, the boyish Bob and the drugstore cowboy, John Held Jr. and F. Scott Fitzgerald, all generously sprinkled what a patent deduction. I cannot say that word. To be sure, this had been a dizzy and confused interval, but most everyone else I knew had emerged from it with both feet on the ground and a fair amount of adult maturity. Nor could I blame my dilemma on my childhood environment. I couldn't have chosen more loving and conscientious parents. I was given every advantage in a well-ordered home. I had the best schools, summer camps, resort vacations, and travel. Every reasonable desire was possible of attainment for me. I was strong and healthy and quite athletic. I experienced some of the pleasures of social drinking when I was 16. I definitely liked everything about alcohol, the taste, the effect, and I realize now that a drink did something for me or to me that was different from the way it affected others. It wasn't long before any party without drinks was a dud for me. I was married at 20, had two children, and was divorced at 23. My broken home and broken heart fanned by smoldering self pity into a fair sized bonfire, and this kept me well supplied with reason for having another drink and then another. At 25, I developed an alcohol problem. I began making the rounds of the doctors in the hope that one of them might find some cure for my accumulating ailments, preferably something that could be removed surgically. Of course, the doctor found nothing, just an unstable woman, undisciplined, poorly adjusted, and filled with nameless fear. Most of them prescribed sedatives and advised rest in moderation. Between the ages of 25 and 30, I tried everything. I moved thousands of times or thousands of miles away from home to Chicago in a new environment. I studied art. I desperately endeavored to create an interest in many things in a new place among new people. Nothing worked. Uh, I lost my spot, guys. Okay, there I am. Make my drinking habits increased in spite of my struggles for control. I tried the beer diet, the wine diet, timing, measuring, and spacing of drinks. I tried the unmixed drinking only when happy, only when depressed. Just a minute, guys. Sorry about that. My kid decided to try to call me. He knows I'm live too. Go figure. Okay, I tried them mixed, unmixed, drinking only when happy, only when depressed, and still by the time I was 30 years old, I was being pushed around by a compulsion to drink that was completely beyond my control. I couldn't stop drinking. I would hang on to sobriety for short intervals, but always there would come the tide of an overpowering necessity to drink. And as I was engulfed in it, I felt such a sense of panic that I really believed I would die if I didn't get that drink inside. Needless to say, this was not pleasurable drinking. I had long since given up any pretense of the social cocktail hour. This was drinking in sheer desperation, alone and locked behind my own door, alone in the relative safety of my home because I knew I dare not risk the danger of blacking out in some public place or at the wheel of a car. I could no longer gauge my capacity, and it might be the second or the 10th drink that would erase my consciousness. The next 3 years saw me in sanitariums, once in a 10-day coma from which I very nearly did not recover, in and out of hospitals or confined at home with day and night nurses. By now I wanted to die, but had lost the courage even to take my life. I was trapped, and for the life of me I did not know how or why this had happened to me. And all the while my fear fed a growing conviction that before long it would be necessary for me to be put away in some institution. People didn't behave this way outside of an asylum. I had heart sickness, shame, and fear bordering on panic, and not complete escape any longer except in oblivion. Certainly now anyone would have agreed that only a miracle could prevent my final breakdown. But how does one get a prescription for a miracle? For about 1 year prior to this time, there was one doctor who had continued to struggle with me. He had tried everything from having me attend daily mass at 6 a.m. to performing the most menial labor for his charity patients. Why he bothered with me as long as he did, I shall never know, for he knew there was no answer for me in medicine, and he, like all doctors of his day, had been taught that the alcoholic was incurable and should be ignored. Doctors were advised to attend patients who could be benefited by medicine. With the alcohol, they could only give temporary relief, and in the last stages, not even that. It was a waste of the doctor's time and the patient's money. Nevertheless, there were a few doctors who saw alcoholism as a disease and felt that the alcoholic was a victim of something over which he had no control. They had a hunch that there must be an answer for these apparently hopeless ones somewhere. Fortunately for me, my doctor was one of the enlightened. And then in the spring of 1939, a very remarkable book was rolled off a New York press with the title Alcoholics Anonymous. However, due to financial difficulties, the whole printing was for a while held up, and the book received no publicity, nor, of course, was it available in the stores, even if one knew it existed. But somehow my good doctor heard of this book, and he also learned a little about the people responsible for its publication. He sent to New York for a copy, and after reading it, he tucked it under his arm and called on me. That call marked the turning point of my life. Until now, I had never been told that I was an alcoholic. Few doctors will tell a hopeless patient that there is no answer for him or for her. But this day, my doctor gave it to me straight and said, people like you are pretty well known in the medical profession. Every doctor gets his quota of alcoholic patients. Some of us struggle with these people because we know that they are really very sick. But we also know that short of some miracle, we are not going to help them except temporarily, and that they will inevitably get worse and worse until one or two things happens. Either they die or of acute alcoholism, or they develop wet brains and have to be put away permanently. He further explained that alcohol was no respecter for sex or background, but that most of the alcoholics he had encountered had better than average minds and abilities. He said the alcoholics seemed to possess a native acuteness and usually excelled in their fields, regardless of environmental or education advantages. We watch the alcoholic perform in a position of responsibility, and we know that because he is drinking heavily and daily, he has cut his capacity by 50%, and still he seems able to do a satisfactory job. And we wonder how much further this man could go into his alcoholic problem could be removed, and he could throw 100% of his abilities into action. But of course, he continued, eventually the alcoholic loses all of his capacities, and and his disease gets progressively worse. And this is a tragedy that is so painful to watch. The disintegration of a sound mind and body. Then he told me there was a handful of people in Akron and New York who had worked out a technique for arresting their alcoholism. He asked me to read the book Alcoholics Anonymous, and then he wanted me to talk with a man who was experiencing success with his own arrestment. This man could tell me more. I stayed up all night reading that book. For me, it was a wonderful experience. It explained so much I had not understood about myself. And the best of all, it promised recovery. If I could do a few simple things and be willing to have the desire to drink re- removed, here was hope. Maybe I could find my way out of this agonizing existence. Perhaps I could find freedom and peace and be able once again to call my soul my own. The next day, I received a visit from Mr. T, a recovered alcoholic. I don't know what sort of person I was expecting, but I was very agreeably surprised to find Mr. T a poised, intelligent, well groomed, and mannered gentleman. It was immediately impressed, or I was immediately impressed with his first few words. Looking at him, I found it hard to believe he had ever been as I was then. However, as he unfolded his story for me, I could not help but believe him. I describe in describing his suffering, his fears, his many years of groping for some answer to that which always seemed to remain unwearable or unanswerable. He could have been describing me, and nothing short of experience and knowledge could he afforded him that much insight. He had been dry for 2.5 years and had been maintaining his contact with a group of recovered alcoholics in Akron. Contact with this group was extremely important to him. He told me that eventually he hoped such a group would develop in the Chicago area, but that so far this had not been started. He thought it would be helpful for me to visit the Akron group and meet many of like himself. Mm. By this time, with the doctor's explanation, the re-evaluation contained in this book, and the hope-inspiring interview with Mr. T, I was ready and willing to go to the ends of the earth if that was what it took for me to find what these people had. So I went to Akron and also to Cleveland. And I met more recovered alcoholics. I saw in these people a quality of peace and serenity that I knew I must have for myself. Not only were they at peace with themselves, but they were getting a kick out of life, such as one seldom encounters, except in the very young. They seemed to have all the ingredients for successful living: philosophy, faith, and sense of humor. They could laugh at themselves, clear cut objectives, appreciation, and most especially appreciation and sympathetic understanding for their fellow man. Nothing in their life took precedence over their response to a call for help from some alcoholic in need. They would travel miles and stay up all night with someone they had never laid eyes on before and think nothing of it. Far from expecting praise for their deeds, they claimed the performance a privilege and deeds okay, and insisted that they invariably received more than they gave. Extraordinary people. I didn't dare hope I might find myself all that these people had found, but if I could acquire some small part of their intriguing quality of living and sobriety, that would be enough. Shortly after I returned to Chicago, my doctor, encouraged by results of contact with AA, sent us to more of his alcoholic patients. By the latter part of September 1939, we had a nucleus of six and held our first official group meeting. I had a tough pull back to normal good health. It had been so many years since I had not relied on some artificial crutch, either alcohol or sedatives. Letting go of everything at once was both painful and terrifying. I could never have accomplished this alone. It took the help, understanding, and wonderful companionship that was given so freely to me by my ex-alky friends. This and the program of recovery embodied in the 12 steps. In learning to practice these steps in my daily living, I began to acquire faith and a philosophy to live by. Whole new vistas were opened up for me, new avenues of experience to explore, and life began to take on color and interest. In time, I found myself looking forward to each new day with pleasurable anticipation. This part I highlighted in this book, and it is AA is not a plan for recovery that can be finished or done with. It is a way of life, and the challenge contained in its principles is great enough to keep any human being striving for as long as he lives. We do not cannot outgrow this plan. As arrested alcoholics, we must have a program for living that allows for limitless expansion. Keeping one foot in front of the other is essential for maintaining our arrestment. Others may idle in a retrogressive groove without too much danger, but retrogression can spell death for us. However, this isn't as rough as it sounds, as we do become grateful for the necessity that makes us toe the line, and we find that we are compensated for a consistent effort by the countless dividends we receive. A complete change takes place in our approach to life. Where we used to run from responsibility, we find ourselves accepting it with gratitude that we can successfully shoulder it instead of wanting to escape some perplexing problem. We experience the thrill of challenge in the opportunity it affords for another application of AA techniques, and we find ourselves tracking it with surprising vigor. The last 15 years of my life has been rich and meaningful. I have had my share of problems, heartache, and disappointments, because that is life, but also I have known a great deal of joy and peace that is the handmaiden of an inner freedom. I have a wealth of friends, and with my AA friends, an unusual quality of fellowship. For to these people I am truly related, first through mutual pain and despair, and later through mutual objective and newfound faith and hope. And as the years go by, working together, sharing our experiences with one another, and also sharing a mutual trust, understanding, and love without strings, without obligation, we acquire relationships that are unique and priceless. There is no more aloneness with the awful ache so deep in the heart of every alcoholic that nothing before could ever reach it. That ache is gone and never need return again. And this part I highlighted as well. Now there is a sense of belonging, of being wanted and needed and loved. In return for a bottle of a hangover, we have been given the keys of the kingdom. And that story. Um, I started drinking at 30. My careless drinking, covering everything, trying to cover everything up with the drink. And I did get sober for a year, and that was without AA. But this time I have been sober. You guys, you're gonna be in less than 1 month. I will be 9 years. 9 years, and I've lived a very good life being sober. A very good life, even with the bad days, because not every day is great. It's not guaranteed that you're going to stay sober for the rest of your life because we have to go one day at a time. That's how we have to live. Just to be able to know that we have that day and we are sober for that day, and it's only 24 hours that we are given. And so I try to treat every day like it is my first day, because if I don't, I can go back out and drink and I may not come back, and I don't want to do that. Excuse me, you're interrupting my live stream. No, go, get down. Sorry. But I've been living my life day to day. Every day I wake up and I'm sober, I am blessed. It may be a rotten day, but I'm still sober. And for that, I'm forever grateful. For every morning I wake up that I'm sober and that I'm guaranteed to be sober. And I have to not forget that it will only take that one drink to go back to where I came from. And that person is not me. That was somebody trying to, that was a mean person that only cared about their self. And it's not me today. It hasn't been me for 9 years. And I'm forever grateful for AA and what it has taught me and given me an enormous gift of life without having to search for money for that drink or beg somebody to buy me a drink. I don't have to do that anymore. And it feels wonderful to not have to do that. And I drank as a teenager, but it was here and there. It wasn't all the time. And when I was growing up, I always said, my family members, I had some family members that are alcoholics on both sides of my family. And so I'm not passing judgment on them, but I still do have alcoholics on all three sides of my family, my birth father's side, my dad's side, and my mom's side. But that's not for me to concern myself with because I can't beg somebody to get the help. All I can do is suggest it and share my gift that I've gotten for free, exactly like the book tells me to. It's not religion. It doesn't have anything to do with religion. It's just giving it up to something else, whatever that thing may be. And knowing to have that you knowing that you have a fellowship, I know I do. I know that there's a group that I can go to any day of the week, any time of the day. It's real easy to find one. Look it up online. They have them there that you can go that you're local to. But there are meetings everywhere, and I think the founders of AA for that, because with knowing that we need to share it, it helps us spread the word to other alcoholics that are still suffering. And for that, it's a wonderful gift to have my fellowship and my friends. I have true friends, not fake ones. I have friends that don't want to be my friend for something, but for me, and for me being me. And I couldn't ask for anything better than that. And having my relationships with my parents and my sisters is a huge thing because when I was drinking, I was starting to just like close myself off to everything and everyone. I mean, even to my kids. They were teenagers when I was doing my drinking, and um, I put them off. One of them was like, "Mom, you need to quit drinking," and blah blah blah, and gave me this whole spiel of it's gonna kill you and everything like that. And I was just like, "No, it ain't." I ignored him, and um, when I did decide the first time to get sober, I was like, "Oh, I have depression." I'd been covering it up with the alcohol, but the alcohol makes you go through all different kinds of weird emotions and half the stuff you don't remember and all that. And um I was not a good person when I was drinking. I was a rotten, self-centered brat, and I'm glad that's in my past, and it reminds me of where I don't want to go. And it's great to have the memories back there of what I was before. Because if I didn't have some of that, I would like maybe decide to go out again. And I don't want that. I don't want to go down that road again because it doesn't take long for you to be right where you just came from. And so my daily sobriety is a must, and it comes before anything else. And being here for people that want to get sober, that need the help, or people that want to help someone that they know and love. They can learn here things that I do, and listening to the books, it helps too. Reading the stories and everything, it helps a lot. And I don't read my book every day, but I read it to y'all, and it makes me happy. Reminds me why I'm still here and still going sober, and reminds me that that is exactly what I am doing, is what the book has guided me and explained to me that I need to do with what I've received from my fellowship. And I just hope that they all know that they mean the world to me. Whether I met you once at that meeting, or you are my sponsor, or you are a friend, I am so glad that I have met you in a group or here on YouTube and Facebook. Um, this is my passion. This is something that I care about more than anything else, and that is my sobriety and knowing that I am going to stay that way and help others to get that way and stay that way. Whether I help one, that's fine. Eventually, it will reach someone. I know when I started AA, I was like, this is bogus. I don't believe this stuff and blah, blah, blah. And guess what? I believe it now. Been believing it for quite a few years now. So, but it has been wonderful being sober. I got to watch my kids graduate. They graduated high school. Super proud of them for that. I'm sober so that way when they have kids or get married, that I will be sober for it and be able to have my real emotions and all of that stuff. And I hope I have grandkids so I can see that with my clear eyes as well. So, but it day one every day, and we need to stay that way and just keep going. And please always know you're not alone. You're not alone. Reach out. reach out to a family member, reach out to a group. Um, there's a lot of us that have got the help and are trying to help, which is great, and I'm so happy to be able to help. Um, so I'm gonna go ahead and say the Serenity Prayer, and if you don't have the app for a daily reflections, you can download one. They're free. You can get any one of them that you like. Um, so, but on Facebook, I'm gonna have to let y'all go so I can read the daily reflections. If you're watching the replay, please like and subscribe. I do these meetings twice a week, and but yeah, so I love you guys. I'm gonna say Serenity Prayer for Facebook, and then I'll be over here on YouTube to read the daily reflections. God, grant me the serenity to accept the things I cannot change, the courage to change the things I can, and the wisdom to know the difference. Love you guys, Facebook. Be safe out there, stay sober, and be happy. Okay. Oh, let's stretch my leg out real quick. Okay. Yeah. Okay. Let me get to my app. All right. So today I am 8 years, 11 months, and 6 days. Today's daily reflection. Today is October 21st, 2023, and the daily reflection is nothing grows in the dark. We will want the good that is in us all, even in the worst of us, to flower and to grow. As Bill teased it, page 10. Hi, Lucretia. Thank you for being here. With the self-discipline and insight gained from practicing step 10, I begin to know the gratifications of sobriety, not as mere abstinence from alcohol, but as recovery in every department of my life. I renew hope, regenerate faith, and remain in the dignity of self-respect. I discover the word and the phrase, and when we were wrong, promptly admit it. Reassuring that I am no longer always wrong, I learn to accept myself as I am, with a new sense of miracles and of sobriety and serenity. And that's our daily reflection. Let me see. I'll post that there. I shared it on Facebook so they can read it. So let's say the serenity prayer over here, and I hope you guys have a wonderful Saturday. And know that I love you all, and I'm so happy to be able to give you guys this free gift that I've been given. And yes, don't be ashamed that you're a recovering alcoholic. Shout it from the rooftops. So I love you guys. God, grant me the serenity to accept the things I cannot change, the courage to change the things I can, and the wisdom to know the difference. Keep coming back. It works if you work it. Love you guys. Be safe out there.